Today's a great day. In case you couldn't tell from our prior speakers, part of the success of Corona is being smart enough to partner with the best. Starting with the county EDA, can we say anything better about them? They get it, they get business, they're pushing. Norco College, academic support, could it possibly be better? Naval Weapons Center, high tech, could it possibly be better? Corona's success is deliberate, it's intentional, it's focused, and it starts at the top. Some of my bosses are actually here today, the mayor, Councilmember Scott, Councilmember Fox, there might be others if so. It starts there. And it goes from idea to reality with arguably the best, if not the smallest, economic development team in the entire region, which is Ryan Cortez and Kimberly Davidson. Could you stand up for a minute? Thank you guys very much. And the one, we all have this from our days of high school, the one that got away, Cynthia Mejia. She was stolen, please stand, Cynthia. She was my star intern for a number of years and then swept away by WRCOG, which was a great steal for them. So let's get into the conversation. Corona is in the right place at the right time, doing the right things with a great ecosystem. And that's because of our partners. So now let's start looking at some outcomes. Where do we stand? Next slide. Pretty exciting stuff. If you look at our vacancy rates, which is a relative demonstration of strength, meaning people want to be here, okay? We have literally or functionally almost zero vacancy. If you look at our commercial at 5%, you look at office at 4.5%, go down the list. Look at the jobs. That's what the region needs is jobs, good paying jobs. To that end, Corona's been exceptionally focused since about the 90s in attracting manufacturing-related plays over warehousing. And that's starting to show now in our numbers. Part of that too is the Corona 2020 program that is part of our amazing relationship with the Corona Chamber of Commerce, who actually speaks business. They speak manufacturing, they speak innovation, they speak tech transfer. A legion of folks from the chamber and myself and a couple of council members traveled to Crane, Indiana just to study tech transfer. They get the conversation. Look at our unemployment number. We are ahead of the county of Riverside. Again, not by accident, but by strategy. Look at our population growth, good, but not overwhelming. Median age in the sweet spot. Next slide. Future development. We're the epicenter, right? Things are great. As we stand up new industrial buildings, anything in the 300,000 to 600,000 square foot mark are usually absorbed prior to C of O being issued. That works out well for the developer, works out well for their lenders, and more importantly, it works out well for the end users because a lot of times it becomes a build to suit, which saves them time, money, and for me, it compresses time to market. Outstanding stuff. We have two that are in the pipeline now, about 1.5 million square feet of industrial. One of them you've probably seen, the old cheese plant. Corona used to have the largest cheese manufacturing facility in California. It is now gone, as are the cows. Now we have Eastvale and new industrial buildings. I think that was a fair trade. Anyway, these are going to be great buildings, and the property that used to be the cheese plant was purchased by Shea Homes. It's a division of Shea Homes, the Shea family. That property set a new record for raw land value. And when you layer in on top of that the extensive amount of rehab that has to be done in remediation, it's the highest recorded transaction in the region. Amazing numbers. Next slide, please. We also have a lot of commercial development going. We have Corona Vista, we have the Marketplace, we have Dos Lagos, which is probably the most interesting study of them all. So Dos Lagos was, ahead of the curve. It came out of the ground, it had $150 million worth of infrastructure that needed to be done. They literally had to take a prior mining site, remediate it, seal the water aquifer, put it back together and build two lakes, Dos Lagos. Had to put in curb gutters, street light, water, sewer lines, the whole thing, right? Comes out of the ground, everyone's excited, and then the Great Depression hits. Poor developer. This was an amazing project about sustainability, walkability, had some of the leading names in retail there, ultimately goes back to the bank, emerges after the Depression is over, and we're starting to turn it around again. We finally have, and we'll see, the second tower in the project. There's offices on the west side. The second tower should start construction before the end of the year. The office market in Corona is good. There's a lot of people that want to be here for all the right reasons, but I think the more interesting story about Dos Lagos is we have a developer, Mr. Kang, who's come to the chamber wisely to say, hey, here's where I want to go. Can you help me get there? What does the business need? What should it look like? What do the residents want? This company is getting ready to make a $500 million investment into our region, into that project. What does it ultimately look like? We don't know. He's just starting the process. He's using every data analytic tool available to a developer in terms of market studies, market absorption studies, retail analysis. So he's going to try to build a project that the public wants. He's going to try to build a project that the consumers will support and that the retailers will be able to invest in. Exciting stuff. We'll see that as it evolves and develops, and I'm sure you'll be seeing that at council meetings and study sessions and public meetings. Next slide. As I mentioned, office is good. Ryan and I and Kimberly have been having discussions with developers about office for 2 years. So we call these Darrellisms at times, but every time we would try to convince a developer that we needed more office, they would go, no, you're just a little too far south. Just a little too far south. Well, they said, okay, but as soon as you get to $2.18 a square foot triple net, that's time for office. Okay, well, we flew past that, and now they're like, wow, you need office. We got to go fast because we're behind the schedule. Yeah, well, you should have started 2 years ago when I told you, because you'd be online now when it was ready. Office is a great thing because it creates the kind of jobs that we need. It doesn't necessarily generate sales tax, but it creates jobs. Jobs create a way for people to get off the freeway. Get people off the freeway, they'll yell at me less. Oh, did I say that, or was I just thinking it? To that end, the freeways and the systems that we've all lived through have been absolutely torturous, but there are very few, if any, cities that can say they've had upwards of $2 billion worth of infrastructure. And as Rob Fields pointed out, self-funded, locally funded, for our benefit by us. To that end, I think we need to give a shout out to Mayor Spiegel, who for the last 10 years or more has been at the forefront of chasing dollars, whether it's in Washington, D.C., shaking down the feds for TIFIA funding, whether it's RCTC, WRCOG, working through temp fees, whatever it is, Corona, because of our geographic blessing, is the confluence of about 500,000 cars a day. Think about that number. Tremendous number. Okay, we have two, not one, two Metrolink stations. One is the busiest in the reach. The second one not far behind. Everything starts in, comes through, or passes by Corona. Our goal is to get them off the freeway spending money and staying, but to that end, $500 million investment, $2 billion investment. Think about what that looks like. It's a lot of stacks of money. Let's go to the next slide. Oftentimes we hear in the community a need, desire, and want for a walkable downtown. And we oftentimes also hear how we ruined the downtown. For the record, I just want to say I was 3. I might have dropped something in the downtown, but I didn't ruin the downtown. No one here did. In hindsight, which is 1,000% clearer than foresight, right? We all are really good at that. It changed, not for the better. So the key is, and the question is, how do we change it now? Well, I think we need to bring back a sense of walkability, engagement, contextual shopping, shoppertainment, all these other great retail words that they're using to sort of entice you to stay and get you to buy an $8 beer and a $15 hamburger. And we like it. It's fun. It's, the Gen X's and the millennials want that. To that end, we're partnering and hopefully closing escrow in the next 30 days with the Lab Holdings Corp. Special shout out on that one goes to Councilmember Montanez, who during his mayorship took a bold step and literally started an email campaign of haranguing the owner of that company until we could get him to come to Corona. Myself and the economic development team, along with Councilmember Montanez, I can remember walking through the Corona Mall and imagine a 60-something guy that's dressed really cool, just really cool. I mean, this guy does cool. If you've ever been to the lab, to the camp, to the packing house, I mean, this guy, he does cool, right? He's walking through the Corona Mall and he has his little round glasses on and he looks around and he goes, oh God, I'm too old for this. Mr. Cortez jumps in and goes, whoa, time out, just hold on a minute. I think he was gonna try to sell him some jewelry from Cortez Jewelry, but he didn't. He said, let's think about this. 500,000 cars a day in 2 directions at the 91. You see it from here. We own a lot of parking lot. We can go vertical. There's great space here. There's great bones. Let's think about facades. Let's think about contextual shopping. Let's think about candles and cookies and hamburgers. I'm hungry. That kind of stuff, right? Let's think about the camp, but in an outdoor environment. His name's Shaheen. He looks around and he goes, hey, you might have something there. Takes a few months. We get him into escrow. We're in escrow now, and we're going to close it. But to that end, we need to go on a road diet. We need to create that sense of downtown where none of us like to walk next to a busy street. The sound, the dust, the wind, you don't feel comfortable. So as counterintuitive as it is, we need to create a road diet in the center of our community. We need to take back that community for us, not the cars. We have Foothill Parkway, we have Ontario, we have the 91, we have the 15, we have Main Street. I could go on and on. 6th Street needs to be ours. We need to slow it down, have head-in parking, not meters though, just pull-in parking so you can run in and out and create that environment where people want to stop, have some little pocket parks, bring the dog, bring the kids, and have some fun. We're getting close, and Ryan Cortez and Kimberly are not going to let us down. And if they do, I'm going to blame them. Not myself. Okay, let's go to some less happy stuff. As the chamber pointed out, I've been about transparency, honesty, openness. I was silly enough to think when I came in as city manager that I was going to be able to give raises to our employees after 10 years of not having cost of living increases. Unfortunately, or fortunately for me, I've made a living on the private sector where I've grown companies, ran companies, taken one company public. So numbers are unfortunately my thing. They keep me up at night and they give me peace also. It took about 6 months for me to kind of wave the flag internally and go, we have a real problem. Took another little bit for me to convince the mayor at that time, but last time around, Mayor Spiegel and the council to authorize a fairly significant spend to bring KPMG in to do what ultimately became called a sustainability study, which we sort of created internally and now is being marketed externally. And it's a litmus test for our cash flow and our position. If you look at the pie chart, you can see that in private industry, this one would scare you. When your payroll costs are 70% of your entire bucket, wow. In government, we're a little different, but not that different. If you can look at the services and supplies, it leaves us about $40 million. CIP is project money. Again, not a lot, $1 million. But the debt service is also good. It's very, very low. It sort of demonstrates that the council, for a number of years, has been very diligent in trying to do a lot with a little, balance the budget, spend within their means. The problem is, in government, there's a lot of outside factors that we don't control, and the ones that we do control in terms of growing revenue sometimes are very slow in building and very small in sharing. We'll go into that later. Next slide, please. This is one that I kind of try to show as a 5 years back, 5 years forward, because there are times you'll hear that, well, we should have known, we should have changed it. Look, the councils, staffs, everyone has been trying to deal with this problem for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years actually. But if you look to the left, you can see that revenue continued to meet expenses just by the thinnest of margins. And that was done through less spending, more cutting, less spending, more cutting, rinse and repeat. Get to this year, and this is the first year we had to come to the council and say, okay, that's not possible anymore. Our staffing levels are down 28%. Revenue is growing. Kimberly released a press release that nearly got her and I killed. Baby, we're back. Well, we are, but we had 10 or 12 years of downtime. The money just doesn't rush in. So we are happy and we should be celebrating and we should not be afraid of those words, which is our revenue is back. Our business starts are back. Our construction is back. Our business license count is back. But it's back to 10 years ago. But we have 12 years ahead worth of expenses now. Everything continues to grow. So the fact that we just got back to 10 years ago, but expenses continue to grow, should make you think we have a problem, right? It's pretty easy to understand. But you can see in out years, the green outstrips the blue by a significant amount. And that's the problem. Next slide. Everybody wants a boogeyman, a ghost. Who did it? How did it happen? There it is. Look at the screen. I'll give you an acronym, PERS, Public Employee Retirement System. Pensions, unsustainable pensions. Unrealistic rates of return, silly thoughts like divestiture. Let's get out of stocks that pay us a rate of return and go into things that don't, because that'll help us how, right? We have got money managers here. John Wygants and I talk about this a lot, and it's some of the most silly behavior you can ever imagine. But if you look at what's happening with PERS and STRS and all of the other ones that are related, when you're looking back to the 2013-14 budget year where you're going to be paying $17.7 million, fast forward to just a couple of years away, you're well over 40 million because the numbers I use here are always 2 years behind because the data you get from PERS is 2 years behind. So when you're more than doubling and it's growing at that rate, knowing that we get such a small fraction of both our sales and property tax, we get 1% on property tax, so to generate 10 million, I need $1 billion. So to be able to cover 20 million, right, how much do I have to do? Do the math. Chad, he's gonna fall out of the chair, don't do it now. Chad and I have also had these talks and it's scary, but not unsustainable. We will have decisions to make as a community coming up. This council and the next generation of councils are gonna have the most difficult times, the most challenging tests of leadership, financial management, stewardship, financial discipline, you name it. I can give you another 1,000 acronyms. It's gonna be hard. They're gonna need your help. They're gonna need the chamber's help. They're gonna need business people's help. The solution's there, it just won't be easy. We need to live within our means or generate new means. Take that for what it is. We'll have the conversation later, but there are only two options. Let's go back to something more happy. Let's go to good news. Next slide, please. I'm part of what is called the movement. We're not going to drink Kool-Aid or doing that stuff later on. It's about transformational government. I've oftentimes made the mistake of saying things like, we're going to run the government like a business. You hear politicians do it all the time. I did it. I was one. I'm reformed now. Just kidding, Karen. Don't. So what that really means is we can't run government like a business, but you can use the tools that run government, the tools that run business in government, and that's not what's happening. And it's not a Corona thing, it's not a Riverside County thing, it's a global thing. So to that end, we're getting ready to do transformational government. We've been working on it for about 2.5 years, and pieces are starting to go live. We're going to be using private sector intelligence tools. We're running Microsoft BI. Not exciting for some of you larger manufacturers, but BI is unheard of in government. We're going to be leveraging artificial intelligence and predictive analysis. I'm going to be using chatbots. We're going to be deploying artificial intelligence to monitor our camera systems. We will be using all of these data sources to make decisions, and we've nearly banned the words I think and I feel at City Hall. I think we should, no, don't think about it. I feel like no, don't feel. I want you to feel, but not about how to make a data decision. Next slide. So what we're going to do is not only am I going to drive our organization to transform and create return on investment for your tax dollar, I'm going to do it naked. That got your attention, didn't it? That'll make you sick. But the point is, I'm going to do it on stage for you to watch and see. We're going to create KPIs, and we're going to run data analytics to support those KPIs, and we're going to show you exactly how we're doing. We're going to show you where your money goes, what kind of return on investment you're getting for that, and if it's working or not. And then from there, we're going to take our budget reformation that we've been doing, where we move from government accounting, which doesn't work well, to zero-based budgeting. How much do you need and why? I need a justification for every dollar. Every dollar has a name. Where does it go? What's it going to give me? Because the taxpayers care. So to that end, this will be done on a very public stage, and that's getting ready to launch hopefully in the next 60 days, and it's called CoreStat, which is short for Corona Statistics, and it's our performance platform. Next slide. We'll be developing a lot of forward-facing applications. Some of them you're seeing now. Everybody in the community likes to know what's being built across the street or down the road. We have a new spatial database running through GIS that you can log on and you can look at commercial development, private development, industrial development, and public works projects. You'll see what it is, and you'll see a whole storyboard next to it, which brings you from the day it came in the door at City Hall to the day it'll be done. Exciting stuff. It'll allow users to be able to monitor us and our activities from every kind of device. Next slide. And the key to this is that our open data platform will allow you to engage with your employees. Your employees are the city council, and it will allow the city council to engage with me. I'm their employee. To that end, we're going to be able to drive outcomes that you care about. We're going to be able to stretch dollars that you worry about. And we're going to be able to do things that make Corona even greater. Next slide. I'm excited about this because this crazy conversation Darrell's been having for a few years has a bit of a following on LinkedIn. Transformational government is not exciting. It's only exciting if you're in government, and it's only exciting if you're a taxpayer. And if you're not in one of those two buckets, you're probably not alive. To that end, we've been able to have some really great partners. Corona's current financial position doesn't allow us to be spending and deploying a lot of money, so I've brought in CIOs from outside private industry. They're here as a charity case for me. My deputy CIO is here as a charity case for us. But our partners include Johns Hopkins University, the Bloomberg Organization, Harvard University, Citrix. My team's been up and speaking to the folks in Microsoft. Microsoft is trying to get back into tier 1 ERPs. A lot of technical stuff, but Corona has moved from racking servers, which is a waste of time and money, to literally we're in the cloud, and then we are running clouds within the clouds for security. We will not be ransomed. I will not pay ransom. I will not give you Bitcoin. Do not try. Yeah, don't try. We also are partners with Waze. The founder of Esri has heard my crazy musings and said, I need to meet you. Come over. He's interested in the conversation about storyboarding, data analytics, and KPIs so that the residents and the public can understand what you're doing, why you're doing it, and is it working. Fascinating. He's a brilliant man. I was thrilled to get a chance to meet him. GovX is a partner. VMware is a partner. And when I say partner, these folks are actually doing things, giving us things, helping us accomplish things. We're getting ready to virtualize our entire network in terms of PCs. Right now we support about 2,000 PCs across the network. That's going to be virtualized. So when I can deploy updates, like we were the fastest city of any size to move to the Azure cloud, deploy Windows 10, and turn on Windows 365. Now that that's up and running, we can virtualize our network, save a bunch of money, keep the bad people out, and just keep it moving. These are all sort of simple things that private industry does, but it's sort of demonstrating where Corona is trying to get to. Next slide, which is the end, basically. But it doesn't happen by accident. It's deliberate, it's intentional, and it's through partnerships. It's taking people like you that are willing to share of your time and talents to help us and the universities and all the partners I named before to kind of make us turn the corner. We compete constantly with this big shadow called Irvine and the Newport Coast. Okay, well, we're never going to have an ocean, we're never going to have water views, and we're never going to have that climate, but what we do have are natural resources. We have brain power. We need to turn off the brain drain, okay? All you young guys that are here and girls, don't go off to Yale and stay. It's cold. This is where you want to be. This is a terrible California winter, okay? These are the worst. That's why everyone wants to be here. Come back. Our partners in the university, both UCR and Norco College, La Sierra, Cal Baptist, that is so important. But what's even more important than that is the Corona Chamber of Commerce. Because without them setting the stage for us to get together and share ideas and share thoughts and sort of rally the troops, circle the wagons, it doesn't really move. They are that piece between idea and putting, leather to the pavement. So to that end, it is the end. But if there's any time, and I don't think there is, I can take a question or two. Otherwise, you can just pull me off stage. Questions? Oh, there. Oh, Mary Barnett. We do. Actually, Mary was asking about an outward-facing application that sits on Android devices as well as Apple devices. Mary was one of the early Corona evangelists. I think it's maybe 6 years ago now, longer maybe. I came to Mary and said, hey, I need an app, and it doesn't sound exciting today, but City Apps was very exciting at the time. And I said, but I have some rules. I need to own the IP. I need to run it on my stuff or yours, but I still own the IP, intellectual properties. And Mary said, no problem, we can do all that. I don't think either of us knew what we were talking about. But I can tell you now, Mary from Corona is a leader in that industry. It's still running on our phones today, and it's the portal to See, Click, Fix, and a million other transparency tools that are sort of my evangelistic approach to getting you involved in my conversation, and it's working. Great question, Mary. And you can download it at the Google Play Store. You can get it at the iTunes as well. More questions? Any questions? I can't see you, so yell. Okay, that's it.
The preceding presentation was made possible by William Scott Global, a communications firm that creates ongoing corporate video news content for U.S. companies while developing national media distribution strategies that reach targeted niche markets. WilliamScottGlobal.com, news and media distribution experts. And by America's Legacy, helping executives and community leaders share their life stories so future generations can intimately experience their contributions, the moments in their life that defined them, from their greatest achievements to their worst mistakes. AmericasLegacy.us